Hey guys, this is Titan and I welcome you to the 17th episode of my Cities Skylines project Vedastein, in which we still and we will do so for quite a while build a realistic small German town. And now, as in contrast to last episode, which was more of a recap episode in which we fixed some things I didn't like and maybe you didn't like them either, and had a after too much time off of the series, had another view into the city. Today we have a regular episode in which we actually develop the city, and we do so by continuing developing the old town. And what's on the schedule for today is the greater area around the Rathausplatz, or the town hall square. I don't think there's a proper English term for that. So the square in front of the town hall, in front of the Rathaus. And that's what you already see me doing here. And because it's historically the Rathausplatz, the town hall square, is a somewhat more important square, I also wanted to have the illusion that it has been a more important square in this city. And of course we achieved that by using some more representative buildings alongside the square. So for example, on most of the streets in the city, we have, as you see here, normal Renaissance houses without too much decorations throughout the street. And here on the square we of course want that. And so I'm using many houses with ornate Renaissance gables throughout the square. And the thing that I did here using procedural objects that you didn't, you saw it but I didn't comment on it, is that I made this big house out of 3 smaller Renaissance houses, and I made a passageway beneath this building. You can see it there. And the idea of that is that there probably has been a street or a road in former times, but when some rich merchant wanted his building on the town hall square, he thought this street is in the way. So this rich person probably thought he can't build his house there because there already is a street. So the solution was basically build a passageway beneath his house. And you can see that, let's say somewhat often in European towns. For example, in Görlitz there is something like that. In Frankfurt am Main, there used to be something like that, but then the war came and the buildings got destroyed. And so I also wanted to have that here in the city. And another thing is that, as I already said last episode, many of the streets in the town are just too wide. So they are 8, 9, 10 meters wide, and that's obviously that's too much for a good looking old town. Now, as a good part of the old town has already been built, I haven't been able to fix that in every part of the old town. But at least in some parts that we do today, I built some really pretty small alleys or roads. And the one with the passageway is one example for that. Another example for that is the road we are building here on the left side of this gabled house. And when I see this house, I feel like I have to mention this. This house was made by Josh. He is a let's say new guy in the asset creation community, so to say, and I helped him building this house and still help him and building other houses. So yeah, a short shout out to him. And aside from that, most of this part or most of this episode is made of plopping houses, plopping buildings. I actually didn't even record everything because, well, let's say it like that. Once I plopped 5 or 6 blocks of houses, I think you get the point of what I'm doing there, and it's not necessary to record everything. Even though in the end it turned out I would have been perfectly able to do so, because the episode is, as you see, pretty small based on the usual length of episode I have. But yeah, that wasn't on purpose. It just I don't know, developed like that. And you already see I'm using more half-timbered houses than I have used in the former episodes of Vedastein. The reason for that is that my new set of half-timbered houses is coming along quite nicely. And there are 3 houses already finished. 2 of them you could have already seen in this series here. And yeah, that just gives a bit more variety in buildings, because even though the Renaissance buildings look really good in the city, especially from afar, when you only see the rooftops of the buildings, it looks really good. But it also is it's nice to have some variety with also a few other building styles. And it also wouldn't be too unrealistic to have some Baroque buildings in the city or in the lower Old Town. But I don't know, for some reason I thought we are going to have the upper Old Town with only Baroque buildings, and so I thought we can afford plopping no Baroque buildings here in the lower Old Town. And yeah, maybe you already can see it that I really try to have some more narrower. Doesn't sound quite right. Both words don't sound quite right. Wow, English. I try to build more narrow roads. I think you get the point. And yeah, it turns out pretty good based on what we had before. Of course, it still isn't perfect. It's actually far from being perfect. Not only because of the width of the roads, but also because, for example, the roads are still, or most of them are still too empty. For once, there's a lack of people that are on the streets, but also there, I don't know, they feel too empty for my taste. But I think as of now, there's not too much I can do about that. And after we plopped all those houses in the city blocks for this episode, I thought we should detail the town hall square a bit. And I did so by at first placing my Maximilian fountain from Bratislava in the middle, and a few cut trees on the side of the square, to give it just a more, I don't know, lively feeling, or I'm not sure how to say it. And I really like those streets by Urbanist, but based on the fact that they probably are here for quite a long time now, I thought it might be good to add some road wear to them. And yeah, the square is detailed as usual. I placed some dirt decals on the ground, and basically that's it, because just placing some dirt and puddle on the ground adds quite a lot of detail. And now I'm just placing a few, well, market stalls. Obviously, as this is not the main market, but just basically it's just a square and not even a market. I guess in medieval times here would have been the place where people were publicly punished, punished, and so this is not a real market. In the next episode we will have the main market of the old town, and then we will have a big market. At least I'm trying to achieve that. So, and what I'm doing here, well, you already are used to that. I'm placing lamps, as I did in the last episode, and again I'm using my old gas lanterns. And when we're in the Old Town, I think those are the only lanterns that I will use in all of the Old Town area, be it the lesser or the lower or the upper Old Town, because yeah, they have a pretty good look that fits the Old Town, as a contrast to more modern lamps. And based on the fact that this is an Old Town that hasn't been destroyed in any war since it has been built, I think it's only fitting to have old lanterns, even though they might not be powered by gas anymore, but by electricity. But it doesn't matter, it's a look, it counts. And as I noticed that some of the main buildings in the town were still relatively empty, I figured well, it can't be a problem to place some floodlights, and I'm doing it here on the town hall, and I did it back a few seconds on the cathedral. And the last thing for today is some remaining minor detail, basically. So here I'm placing some roadside decal with an outside seating area for a restaurant, and in just a few minutes you will see me decorating some courtyards or backyards. Backyards is probably the right word to describe it. And there's basically not too much more about that to say. I just wanted the roads and the I just don't want it to look as empty as it has looked up until now. And I think that did work quite well. And another thing that I like to mention, as I just saw it here, to avoid the prop limit, I more and more use procedural objects to avoid using too much props, because it doesn't really matter if I place a prop or a procedural object. Because basically they both are just some requisites that are placed and are for decoration purposes but have no further function. So I think that's a good point to avoid the prop limit. And here, as I said, I'm decorating a backyard, and the only thing I'd like to mention here is that it's not really unrealistic to have bigger backyards also in old towns that might look like they have been just 100 years old but are actually hundreds of years old. That's quite realistic to have those, though in, for example, medieval times there hasn't been gardens in the backyard, but usually the residents grew some crops there, or sometimes even held animals there. That was quite usual. And here I'm just doing a hotel backyard, because it seemed too empty for me, and so I did something there. But guys, we are actually coming closer to the end of this episode, and I would like to thank you for once more tuning in into Vedastein. I hope you liked this episode and the progress we are doing. If you have some suggestions and on what we should do, please feel free to do so. If you like this series, feel free to comment, to like it, to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support me even further, you can support me on Patreon for early access to videos, early access to assets. And yeah, I think that's it. A big and a huge, again, thanks to the Patreons who already support me on Patreon. Guys, I love you and you are the best. Now, have a nice time. We'll see you in the next episode, and until then, bye.